Hey, it's Arjun here, head of research and founder of InvestorKit Buyers Agency. Today's episode is with my good friend and client of ours, Amol Khuntale. Now, Amol is the director and mortgage broker at Ask Financials. But more importantly than what he does is actually Amol's journey. Amol's been on a journey of investing and he's actually picked up 4 places with our team, but has a portfolio of 9 properties overall. Now, if you're tuning in and hearing, wow, those are some pretty special numbers, well, they are because Amol's unique scenario isn't the typical investor who typically caps out at that 1 or 2 investment properties. Now, with his portfolio in today's show, Amol goes deep into some of the tips, some of the things he's picked up on his mindset of investing, and his journey, just reflecting on what's gone well, what he's improved on, and where he's going with his portfolio. Now, Amol being a mortgage broker means that he also has insider industry knowledge. And that's something quite powerful because you get to learn and then apply it not just for yourself, but practice with many clients. And many of his clients have done some similar things as well, producing phenomenal results and growing their portfolio, and also many of which that we've worked with as well on this journey. So tune into this episode of the InvestorKit podcast to hear from Amol and how some of his tips can help you further scale your portfolio as well. Amol, it's great to catch up again, my friend. How have you been?
I'm been good, Arjun. How are
Yeah,
you?
very, very good. Thank you. And I know there's a lot of exciting stuff we're going to dig into today in the portfolio. But firstly, massive congratulations to you and your partner on all the success you've had in building your property portfolio to date. I guess the first thing that just comes to mind is, when you're thinking of goal setting and the action that you took over the last few years, it was during a period where many people were uncertain, not sure of taking action. What made you feel so comfortable to do that in building your portfolio?
So, to start with, I start with my property investment journey back in 2010 when I was just fresh out of uni. I had some cash I wanted to invest, and I made a lot of mistakes. So, my first deal I did, I bought a land, I flipped it, and I got like almost 40, 50 grand. And as a graduate, that was the salary we made in a 1 full year. And I thought, oh, this is really good. This is fascinating. So, I bought another land in Tarnet. And I was holding that for almost 3 to 4 years. This is back in 2010, and it didn't grow much in value. And after that, I sold that, didn't make much profit, didn't make a loss too. Then I bought an apartment in South Melbourne, in Albert Park. And that too, it was good, nice, positive grade, but it didn't grow in value. So I made a lot of mistakes in my initial career. And after that, I started to go to meetups and meet a lot of people. And I thought it's time for me to educate and then take steps in the right direction. I think we met in 2018-ish, and I wanted to invest somewhere interstate where the numbers made sense. And you said that Brisbane will be a good spot, and that's what we decided, that we'll go to Brisbane. We purchased my first property, and this was a time when people were a bit hesitant about investing interstate as well as, but you assured me that this is a good spot, and we'll go for that. So that's how I started then building my portfolio, having the good quality assets in my portfolio. So that initial mistakes which I made, that also helped me to make sure that I don't repeat those. But at the same time, when the numbers add up, when you're looking at the data, if things add up, go for it.
Well, see, that's the power of reflection, isn't it? Because you looked back at the last few years prior that, and you said, "Hey, there were some good things that the flip that you had that went well, but also the apartment and different deals that didn't go so well." I'm always curious when there's a family dynamic, like at home, and you're discussing with each other investments. When one doesn't go well, how do you guys kind of get past that barrier to see that confidence to go, no, 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 we're going to do it again, but try and get it better without any conflict at home, without saying, no, just leave it. It hasn't done well. Let's not do it. I'm always interested to know behind the scenes what happens when there's a family building a portfolio.
Fortunately, I'm very, very fortunate that my wife doesn't take much interest in the property. So she's like, you do the numbers. If you feel it's good deal, go for it. And she's been very supportive in that way.
Understood, mate. So now when you go through 2018 and look into 2019 and beyond, we get hit with the pandemic. Yet over the last couple of years, that didn't stop you from making acquisitions. Do you have I feel like a long-term goal that you're working towards that as a result made you take that action? Or was there other reasons that made you say, no, you know what? I still want to take action during these last couple of years when times were a bit shaky for many people?
So I don't see what the total economic thing is, because the good thing about Australia is every state has a different property cycle. So there are still good deals. And as Warren Buffett says, that when everyone is fearful, it's time to grab the opportunity. And that's what, whenever personally I was ready, I was happy to take the action.
Amol, you got to come up with a new quote, man. That one get hammered. That one gets hammered all the time. Everyone keeps using that one. Mate, in your recent movements through your portfolio, I know you actually also run a mortgage brokerage. Could you tell me how being in the industry has prepared you for property investing and what sort of advantages it gives you when you are investing yourself?
So the mortgage broking career, I actually owe that to you and our discussions that we had over the last. I think that was back in 2019-20 that we had a discussion. I was a banker and I was passionate about the property, and I'm a more of an analytical person, number person, and mortgage broking is something that resonated well. You were saying that be a buyer's agent, but I thought mortgage broking was something that resonated well with my skill sets, with my personality. And now this really helps because I get to see how serviceability works, what are the banks looking for, how the policy works. And based on that, I can structure my loan, my next moves accordingly as well.
And so, when you think of all the people that you do assist in what you do as a broker, what are some of the common mistakes you see when people are trying to build a portfolio? Because you've obviously taken this to 9 properties now, whereas many people are getting stuck in the first couple. Are there any key things that you see? Oh, this is a common theme occurring, and this is why I feel people aren't getting past it?
People usually just think about the immediate property and they don't think about the long-term goals. So it's important that you have an end goal into mind and then just reverse engineer it. So get your A team with you, your accountants, your buyer's agents, your mortgage broker, and they can help you to structure it properly and achieve your whatever goal you have in mind.
Yeah, so that end goal, right? Because with the end goal, I often find people just go, your borrowing capacity is 1 million. They go up and buy the best they can up to 1 million. And then they just sit tight and then they fingers crossed that the next borrowing capacity, they can do something else again. It's such a good point, Amol, because one thing I've always noticed about you and working with you, you didn't just think about the current property. You're thinking about how the yield, the rental increases, the cash flow will get you towards your next. And you're always talking about, okay, I've got this much money aside for the current one. If I get this to this level of growth or save this much a month, I should be ready for the next one. So that sort of thinking, when did that switch for you? Because there was a big gap between 2010 and early purchases and 2018. What sort of things happened in your life personally that started making this switch happen for you of this thinking where you're always thinking of the next, you're thinking of long term and reverse engineering? Was there something like that went on personally for you that you said, hey, this was the moment change?
See, between 2013 and 2018, I purchased my owner occupier and I purchased 3 properties overseas. So I always wanted to purchase good quality assets and I wanted to make sure that I don't repeat the mistakes that I made in my earlier career. So accessing the equity, I learned a equity game by attending a lot of property meetups as well as attending the workshops by the property gurus. But yeah, equity game is really important, and that helped me to buying in the right location, making sure that your asset grows into you have that instant equity growth, removing that equity, and remanufacturing those things to purchase the next property. So I've always been doing that. So it was just my first property where I had to save for the deposit, and the rest of the properties it was all about the equity game.
Yeah, got it. So it wasn't so much something that came up new. It was always happening, but really it was now just that time to take it to a new level from 2018 onwards. Mate, when you think of the journey with us and working through purchasing 4 properties together on the journey, what are some of the things that you learned when it comes to the benefits of professional relationships like buyers agents in your team?
It is very important, as I told you, to have that A team with you. And buyers agents are one of the other people who are really important, especially for the people who are time poor. But you're a person who I can call at midnight and say, hey, Arjun, this is what I'm facing. And it's not only about the property, I can talk about the life with you. So that's the connect that we have, that we share. But In general, even if I'm not buying the property, and if I call you, you just give me the insights about what's happening in the market, where it is. So you need that person besides you, especially when you are growing your portfolio. And they say that you are the one person that you hang out with, and I'm a bit fortunate that I've been friends with you.
Oh man, that's too kind, mate. When it comes to the research you mentioned, that was a big part of the journey that we've been on together, and that's helped you make certain decisions that you feel very proud of now, looking back and the last couple of years of results. When it comes to the research, what are some of the things you've picked out just from learning and going through it that you feel maybe the typical investor keeps missing out on or doesn't think about?
See, I feel that investment is more about the data, and a lot of people, that the mistake that they do is they try to buy something close to their backyards and look without looking at the data. So, working with you, I have learned a lot about the data, and I remember that initially, when before you launched the Property Nerds as well, we were discussing a lot about the things that needs to be there, and during that process, I learned a lot about the data as well, how things work. So, I've been a data analyst in my previous roles in the bank as well. So, I enjoy working with the data, and mixing the property passion with the data is something has been really fascinating, and that's what you have been doing as well, which ultimately produces the great results.
And when it comes to using that research, there are unpredictable things that happen as well, because the research helps us with the areas, the markets, but then there are unpredictable things that come up like repairs, maintenance. And you've had some properties that have had, touch wood, nothing, but then other properties that have had thing after thing come up, and then you get through them. What's been your trick to building that resiliency? Because so many people, they sometimes get stuck investing and don't want to invest anymore, and they become the barbecue person who's always there talking about, oh, that happened, this happens, this maintenance comes up. What was in your mind that was different, and how do you keep that level of resiliency long term?
You have to treat your investment journey as a business. So when it's a business, you'll have profits, you'll have expense. There will be days when it'll not do well. So you have to keep your emotions aside, and just invest based on the numbers. So what I've done is I've always kept buffer for each of my property, and made sure that in case if there is any immediate repairs, I've been covered off.
Yeah, the buffers part, like people underestimate how important it is. You could have the best properties ever, best markets, something great's about to happen. But what does all that mean if you can't hold the property, can't keep it tenanted, can't have it well maintained, and have that peace of mind? You'll never sit there waiting for the result, right? So many people end up selling early as a result of these things. And
Yeah.
Amol,
So
on the journey, when you've thought about the different cities. Now you've planted flags all over. Like it won't be long, Amol, until you can kind of travel around the country and go, you know what? I could crash here if it was a vacant period and it wasn't tenanted. It was just something in between. You could crash there in any given city almost soon with how it's all going. What's made you comfortable with borderless investing? Because it's not just Australia, but you've got different countries, you've got different cities. And looking at the states, you're across multiple states as well. So what's made you feel so comfortable about borderless investing, and what tips do you have for people who want to borderless invest?
So again, when I was investing for the first time, and you said that Brisbane makes sense, I said I have no experience investing in interstate, and he's like, "You're like, let me take care of this." So you had the on-ground people. So again, investment, you're not going to stay in that property. As far as your $1 grows into $4, that's really important, and you need good property managers, good tenants. They're going to take care of your property. So if you have all the risk management in place, you won't go wrong. And that's what I learned from you.
I can see these common things of you treating investing like business, right? From the way you manage it, the way you see it. That's a very powerful approach, because sometimes people get too lost in the micro details. What exact, school is nearby, or what age, or what, build material, and all these different factors. But really, the growth is going to happen from that major city's economy. And then it's about carefully put together due diligence list that that once you tick, it's likely to be okay. So
Yeah.
now just circling back to how you're helping many investors in the current environment, and you're helping them grow their portfolio. We talked about reverse engineering as one tip. What other tips have you come to learn that you feel investors should know on the building of their portfolio that perhaps many don't take consideration of when they look into their finances?
Yeah, first is always the location. Location does the heavy lifting. So make sure that you are investing in the good location. And if you're not sure, get the help of the experts like you. Second is before you purchase, do all your due diligence, run all the data, and make sure that building best inspection, there's no surprises that you are up for. Have buffers. And fourth and most important thing is have a good structure in place.
Some very powerful tips, mate. And Amol, I think when I look at the assets that you purchased, I noticed a common theme. There was a balance between price, affordability, rental yield, and capital growth. For many people, they seem to think this world doesn't exist of balance and it's one or the other. What was the key thing for you that made you feel so comfortable about approaching this type of strategy versus what maybe someone else in Melbourne might do the complete opposite?
That's what people think, that, okay, either we can achieve a positive grade property or capital growth. We can't achieve both. But that's not true. As I said, that every state in Australia is very different and every state has different cycles. And you can still find the gems where you can get a good capital growth plus a positive rental yields. So especially in this era where the interest rates are rising rapidly, these positive get properties will help you with your serviceability, and your capital growth will help you, potentially remove the equity and purchase your next property.
Speaking of the interest rate rising and where we're at now, how do you sort of now look at the investing goals that you have? Does anything change, or do you feel, no, look, I still got to approach it the same way, but maybe just be more patient with the way things are? What are your thoughts?
I always tell all my clients as well. So take care of the things which are in your hands and leave the things which are not in your hands. Now, interest rate rise is one of the things which are really not in your hands. What is in your hand is to buy a quality assets in a good location where you're getting a good rental income. These are the things which are really in your hands. Concentrate on those things. Interest rate rise and drops, that's something which is really not in our hands. So don't worry about it.
Very solid advice, mate. What you can control and can't control. And it sounds like what you can control is a lot to do with your savings, your team that you build around you, the assets that you select, the buffers you put together, and then long-term property investing is proven. Amol, it's been a pleasure to hear from you, and thank you as well for your support and in terms of this podcast and sharing what you've done and magnificently done over the last couple of years. It's been a pleasure working with you as well on multiple purchases and just helping and seeing your portfolio grow. Hats off to you for all your success, for you and your partner, and for anyone as well wanting to speak to Amol, who is a mortgage broker that can assist, because he's not an investor that's a mortgage broker that's sitting there and telling you how to invest without investing himself. He's 9 properties in, and this makes a big difference because he lives and breathes it personally. Reach out to Amol. But Amol, how can people reach out to you?
They can either visit my website, askfinancials.com.au, or call me on 0433944055. Send me an email or just follow my Insta page and you can drop me a message.
Awesome, man. Thanks again.